Hi, my name is Thomas Okedi. I am an international humanitarian worker with experiences of working in Ethiopia, Yemen, Iraq, Somalia, Cambodia, and Uganda. I have been getting a lot of questions from young people around the world asking me about what the prospects are for international humanitarian work. In fact, the common question that many young people around the world ask me is, Thomas, how did you get to where you are now? And how can we also be able to get there? And therefore, through this presentation, I just want to share a few thoughts and ideas on the international humanitarian work landscape. What are the positives, what are the negatives, and what can you be able to do as a young man to be able to achieve your dreams of working in the international humanitarian workspace? First, I will start by giving a background of myself. I am a Ugandan. I was born and bred and educated there. I hold a master's in public health, a BA in community psychology, and I'm currently doing a master's in organizational leadership from Southeastern University. I am also a certified project management professional with the Project Management Institute in the US. And I started my humanitarian work in 2004 as a volunteer in Uganda. Like I said in the beginning, I have had experiences of working in Ethiopia, Yemen, Somalia, Iraq, Cambodia, and Uganda in both humanitarian and development contexts with different international non-governmental organizations. How did my journey to and in international humanitarian work start? So it all started back in 2008 when I took up an international volunteer assignment with Voluntary Services Overseas, VSO. I worked as a training and management advisor in Cambodia for a local Cambodian organization. And those 6 months of my career were life-changing, were career-changing 6 months. I learned a lot through those 6 months. So that is how it all started. I was a young lad of 28 years, first time out of my country, but the experience was immensely rewarding. I shared the skills I had, but I also learned a lot from my colleagues in Cambodia. Between 2008 and 2012, I returned to Uganda, got married, completed my Master of Science in Public Health, and started working in refugee assistance projects in southwestern Uganda with GIZ, or the German International Corporation. In August 2012, I bounced back into international developmental humanitarian work and started working with the British charity, Tropical Health and Education Trust, as program manager in northern Somalia in a region called Somaliland, which is a semi-independent country. I have since then worked, like again I said, in Iraq, in Yemen, and in Ethiopia, and also had some short stints at some work in Uganda. What have been my experiences in international humanitarian work? What have been some of the positives? Humanitarian work is richly rewarding. Being able to help children, being able to help women, being able to help people affected by humanitarian emergencies, and seeing them have a smile on their face because of the assistance you're providing to them is something which is richly rewarding and gratifying. You can't compare it to anything else. International humanitarian work also brings a lot of exposure, leading to an open mind and heart. When you travel through the world, when you work in different contexts, when you meet different people, your mind opens up and you're able to see the world from a different lens, from a different perspective. So being an international humanitarian worker makes you better than someone who hasn't traveled out there and who hasn't interacted with the world outside, where they are born. International humanitarian work also exposes you to international networks with like-minded people. I know people in Kenya, I know people in Cambodia, I know people in Iraq, I've kept company with friends in Yemen, in so many parts of the world, Belgium, and so many other places that I've been able to visit, or where some of the colleagues that I've worked with have come from. So that's a great opportunity in international humanitarian work. And of course, you also get the opportunity to grow important skills and attributes like intercultural sensitivity, adaptability, self-leadership, flexibility, the ability to be able to immerse in another culture and be able to find ways of living in a different culture. That is richly, richly rewarding. International humanitarian work also has better pay compared to working at home, for example, you get a better pay. And then in terms of personal development, if you use your time well, if you use your resources well, international humanitarian work is richly, richly rewarding. What are some of the negatives? If you do not manage your relationships well, they can collapse. So international humanitarian work can have negative impact on relationships. If you're working in a hardship area, where communication networks are very poor, where internet is very low, and you cannot keep in touch with your family, you can't keep in touch with your friends, your relationships can be negatively affected. I was reading a report published by CareerNet, and it was saying that the divorce rate among women UN staff is much higher compared to men. And also more women are unmarried or they are singles than men. So sometimes international humanitarian work messes up with people's relationships. And if you do not have an understanding partner, or you do not have someone who understands some of the challenges you go through in the field, they may actually just decide to walk away and say, I cannot be patient with this kind of man or woman who is always traveling and not giving me time and attention. So that can be a serious, serious negative. And then, of course, in some of the contexts, there are safety and security concerns. Some of the international humanitarian workers have been kidnapped. Some of them have been victims of murder and so many other things happening to them. International humanitarian work can be lonely and alone. The work overload can be immense as you're trying to overcome boredom by, basically overworking. Some people dive into negative coping mechanisms, such as alcoholism and drugs. Some people forget to invest and enjoy the lure of the monthly paycheck, and then the reality dawns on them once they retire. Some cultures in some of the places you may work in may be too difficult to adjust to, and that can be a tough one. And in some of the organizations, in some of the contexts, racism is real, especially when you're looking for a job. The black chap has to demonstrate outstanding competence to stand any chance. I'll respond directly to a friend who asked me that, she has a BA in communications and journalism, and so where does she start from? I would say start with what you have. Internship and volunteer opportunities and experiences are a great way to acquire skills. So don't underestimate the power and the value of internships and volunteer placements. Use that to your advantage and acquire as many potent skills as possible. Start your master's as soon as you can. And some of the options for someone with a BA in communications and journalism are a master's in humanitarian communication, a master's in refugee protection and forced migration studies, a master's in human rights and humanitarian action, and a master's in monitoring and evaluation, and so many other options that you may be passionate about. So there are quite a number of options. But my advice for you is that start with what you have and build onto that as you build a repertoire of skills and knowledge that can take you far. And how do you get hired? Your cover letter and CV must reflect your work experience. Your cover letter must be sexy. I'm also recommending my book for some simple nuggets or advice, and you can get that from Amazon. I've put a link there. And here I have also listed websites that advertise jobs on a daily basis. So do visit these websites, and you'll be able to get a lot of job advice that may suit your need. Words of advice: be steadfast, be resilient, never give up. The competition is stiff out there, but there are many opportunities for the right people. So don't just be steadfast. Apply for whatever jobs you feel confident in. The harvesting time will come. The more you apply, the better your chance of gaining a job, of gaining an interview are. And the more you interview, the more you become confident, and the more your opportunities of getting a job are. Keep sharpening your saw and equipping your toolkit with vital skills and knowledge. So don't relax and say you have arrived. You haven't. Keep learning new skills, keep acquiring new knowledge so that you can become better than the competition. Have an open mind. Don't limit yourself. You are a global citizen and you can work anywhere in the world. And finally, believe in yourself. Believe that you'll rise to the top of your career, and yes, you will. Thank you very much, and God bless you.